In which ancient memories does the true meaning of Arcadia lie? What is the deepest sense of this idea that has captivated the intellect of Europe for centuries? What could our sudden, quick glances into the unknown mystical world reveal? Arcadia is bringing to life the transcendental and complete experience of a paradise on earth, more so than any other place in Greece. It is a border between knowledge and magic that perpetuates an immense cultural heritage alive for centuries. Our journey began from Caparelli village just before the Artemisio mountain on an October Sunday at 4:30 in the morning. We were waiting at the borders between myth and history until the dawn began to fade and the stars started to cloak themselves in light. We were waiting, following our way into the ancient tracks of Artemis. We were listening as the seed under the earth was turning like a key in the lock, waiting its time for its turn. We waited until the gray became rosy and then shined like a golden light. We are searching for the traces of Artemis. But who was Artemis? What does her presence symbolize? Is she just the young daughter of Zeus that is strolling through the mountains with a short tunic and the bow? Or the fertility mother with the many breasts as depicted by Ephesus? Is she the mistress of a primordial mystery of women, of birth, of menstruation and death? Or the goddess of the moon? The further we go back in time, the more the enigmatic Potnia Theron figure reminds us of Rhea, the mother of the gods, or the Phrygian Cybele than that of the teenage daughter of Zeus. For us, this peregrination is not just a trip to historical places, but also a journey to the foggy memories of the writers and poets of the Renaissance. We followed our intuition, an unmistakable guide, to undetected, forgotten places. We searched through serene mountains and lofty valleys for lost temples and shrines. We heard stories of pale naiads coming out of the enchanted spring waters at night. And in the end, we realized that Arcadia is a place like no other, more like a gateway for all in search of purity and beauty. Arcadia lies under the melancholic tunic of an ancient nostalgia. Woodlands divide the country. The valleys with their rivers seem to form a kingdom of this world. In an environment like this, one loses one's perspective. Time and space are expanded, and the echoes from a forgotten prehistoric past conquer the senses. At the end of the 15th century, the humanist Jacopo Sannazaro wrote a novel entitled Arcadia. In it, the writer describes the beautiful and serene life of shepherds, a life full of games, poetic competition, and romances. During this period, Arcadia became synonymous with the Elysium of ancient times, a paradise lost, not distant from Earth, but in the center of Greece. The way to this mythical kingdom became an internal pathway towards primal human nature. While making our way through the borders of Arcadia, right underneath our feet lay huge caves, underground passages, and unknown lakes which have never appeared before the light of day. We are approaching the Menaleo Oros, a mountain dedicated to Pan, and our senses have already started to weave a world, one in which we can't always tell what's real and what's not. On the left side of the street, a promontory stands out like a huge statue in the back of a silent temple, naked and exposed. We are in Mantinea, here where the human race of Proselenian, sons and daughters of Pelasgos, came out of the earth before the moon. An almost invisible circle is imposed on the ancient wall boundaries enclosing several ruins. The market, the theater, and the whistling of the wind sound like a flute on this autumn day. In Mantinea, there was a double temple, divided by a wall. On one side, the statue of Asclepios, made by Alcamenes, an associate of Pheidias. On the other side, a temple from 4th century BC, dedicated to Leto, Artemis, and Apollo. The 3 embossed plaques from the temple's base, made by Praxiteles, are preserved and are at the National Museum of Athens. A little further north, a round hill like a huge burial mound is set apart from the valley. Here, according to the legends, lies the mythical Acropolis, one of the 4 or 5 rural communities of ancient Mantinea, but also a temple that was nourished by the dreams of young people, for a goddess that felt joy when people became more fertile and happy. In a small chapel on the top of the hill, one can still see the ancient stones used as building material. Next to them are situated the ruins of Artemis Lochias' temple, guardian of women in labor. Inside the temple, multiple small clay statues of women were found, offered by worshipping women of the area. Not far from Levidi, at the area between Orchomenos and Mantinea, there is a chapel dedicated to the Christian Mother of God. There on the hillside once stood the famous temple of Artemis Hymnia. It is said that little after the Messenian War, Aristocratus, the son of Arcadia's king, raped the priestess of the goddess inside the temple, near her statue of worship. When the people of Arcadia found out, they stoned him to death. After that, they changed the traditional appointment of a virgin as the priestess of the goddess to that of an elder woman. Among the stones of the tiny chapel, we can still discern fragments of columns. All around on the hillsides, the power of Artemis is slowly transforming. It is said that even today, on the eve of the annual celebration, maidens from the surrounding villages dance in honor of the goddess, show her respect and loyalty by performing rituals in her honor. The ancient Arcadic Orchomenos was an important city since the Mycenaean era. Its acropolis, according to tradition, was built by Orchomenos, Lycaonas' son. In the Roman era, Orchomenos was located on the lower part of the hill. The older city was located on a higher, smoother, and more spacious locale, with a view of the whole valley. Homer calls Orchomenos' Polomylon rich in sheep herds. In the Archaic era, the stronghold region allowed the kings of Orchomenos to control a large part of Arcadia's political climate. The temple of Artemis Mesopolitis is located south of the ancient market. A little further in stands a rectangular sacrificial altar. Artemis is depicted on coins from Orchomenos. On one of them, the goddess looks as if she has used her bow with her left hand to shoot an arrow. She is wearing a short tunic for hunting, leaving her right breast exposed. On the second coin, the goddess is holding 2 torches, one in each hand. The dog is near her feet. On the way from Orchomenos to the Stymphalia lake, the strange tales of worship come to life. Even today there are stories of guardian spirits residing at the ruins. of mysterious fairies from out of this world appearing in the night, dancing to the sounds of the whistling reeds. The villages of the mountains are full of strange occurrences. Here lie secrets, as the villagers say, secrets that should never be uncovered, secrets that emerge in people's dreams. There are stories that mention lights dancing in the dark, legends of trolls with dragons or snakeheads, tales of people drowning in abysmal cavities, whose spirits never left. On the mountain of Oligirtos, north of Kandila, is where the Queen of the Fairies has her palace. There she keeps forever all the men she chooses. The whole region is full of fairy valleys, fairy mountains, and fairy springs. A little to the north, at Stymphalo, near the ancient city's market, lies, according to Pausanias, the temple of Artemis Stymphalia. There was a gold leaf statue, and on the ceiling of the temple a depiction of the Stymphalides Ornithes. There were also marble representations of virgins with birds' thighs. On silver coins from 4th century BC, we see the head of the goddess on the one side, while Hercules uses his club to kill the Stymphalides Ornithes on the other. The temple of the Artemis Stymphalias was located on the expansive medieval basilica dating back to the middle of the 13th century. At the entrance gate and on the walls of the convent cells, we can still find Doric columns as well as pieces of marble facade of the temple. It is also said that in the era before the Romans, it was in this temple that the Stymphalides held their elections, as well as a significant annual celebration. What happened to the ancient city of Capheus? Where did the streets, the statues, and the ancient temples go? Under the soft white clouds tinged with rose, we find some broken columns now serving as demarcations between the fields of farmers. We are scouting the trails of Artemis on the Kanakalos mountain west of the city, where, according to Pausanias, the goddess of regeneration was celebrated annually. We are seeking the ancient grove with the remains of the Artemis Kondeliatides' temple, also named Apanchomeni, named so after some children who were playing in the temple found a rope and tied it to the goddess's neck. The Phaneos Plateau is 700 meters above sea level and is one of the strangest areas of Arcadia, for it sometimes becomes a lake. The tributaries all around, as well as a stream from the north called the Murderous River, used to form the Phaneos Lake. The locals named the Murderous River Olvios, and it is said that it used to have fish that sounded like babblers. At the bottom of the Skiathis and Orkisis mountain are sinkholes taking in the waters from the valley. At times when they clog, the water level of the lake rises, covering the valley. On the contrary, when they are open, water flows forcefully in, and the rivers of Ladonas and Alphios overflow. According to Strabo, there was a time when the lake of Phaneos completely dried up, flooding the temple of Olympia. Where are we? Are we in an evergreen valley or at the bottom of a dried-up lake? The element of earth and water is fighting and transforming to take over the valley of Phaneos. We are stepping on watery snakes next to sinkholes sucking in the snake-like rivers. The car wheels are traversing waterfalls that sink in the land of the dead in order for the ancestor spirits to be fertile. According According to Pausanians on the mountain of Krathis, known today as Zaruchla, east of the Aroanius was the temple of Artemis Pyronia. The people of Argolis used the fire of the temple for the Lernea. A little further lies Nonakris, an ancient Arcadic town named for the mythical wife of Lycaon. It was there where the prehistoric leaders of the Arcadic cities gathered to go to the waters of Styx for their coalition oath, where the icy, unearthly water is dripping from a huge, dark rock. The oath is unbreakable and is binding even for the gods. At the bottom of Helmos at the Aroania Mountains are the remains of the temple of Artemis Imeras and the town of Lucy. It was there that the mythological hero Melampus healed from insanity the three daughters of King Pritos of Tirintha. At the temple there was also an asylum. The people of Lucy held a big celebration with competitions in which even foreigners participated. As artifacts allow us to see, the temple wasn't built before the second half of the 4th century BC. Nevertheless, the worship of Artemis existed many centuries ago, proven not only by myth, but also by various offerings. We are on our way back, leaving behind us the everlasting and universal vision of Arcadia. We are leaving behind not only the birthplace of myths, but also a much-needed archetype, offering an authentic experience of an alternative reality. We know by now that this mystical land serves as a bridge connecting the collective unconscious, leading us to an opportunity of becoming one with nature. Arcadia promises access to the original domain of the ancient gods, of mystical realities and of the kingdoms of the beyond. Behind the myths, the strange traditions, the god Pan, Arcadia is more than anything else a gate that leads us to a huge and indefinite field of consciousness, gifted with enormous wisdom and constructive powers. It is the secret kingdom of an ancient primal goddess, the warm hug of Potnia Thiron, our great mother, Artemis.